Back for more Deenie by Judy Blume. Chapter 4. Here we go. I took the bus to Daddy's gas station, knowing that Helen wouldn't be there because on Mondays and Wednesdays she works at the library after school. Daddy wasn't out front, so I dumped my books on the counter inside and looked in the garage. He was working away underneath the station wagon. The second I saw him, I started to cry. I knew I would. I'd been holding it in so long, it felt good. I ran to him sobbing, "Oh, Daddy." He slid out from underneath the old wagon and said, "Deenie, what is it?" When he stood up, I grabbed hold of him and buried my face in his uniform. It smelled nice, like gasoline. I cried hard. After a minute, Daddy held me away. "Deenie, what's wrong?" I didn't make the cheerleading squad. I could hardly get the words out. Daddy sighed and said, "Is that why you're so upset?" I nodded. "They chose Janet instead of me." Daddy smoothed my hair. "Well, there'll be other times for you to try." "No, there won't. This is it." "So you'll have to find another activity." He sounded like Mrs. Rappaport. When I was all cried out, Daddy gave me the key to the ladies' room and told me to wash my face and he'd drive me home. "Please don't tell Ma I was trying out. She'd probably kill me." "I won't say a word to anyone," Daddy said. "Now go and fix yourself up." I walked outside and around the back to the ladies' room. I splashed some water on my face. "That's much better," Daddy said when I came back. I hung the key on the wall and grabbed my books off the counter. Daddy and I walked outside together. "I have to tell Joe to close up for me," Daddy said, unlocking our car. "I'll wait here." I got in and slouched way down in my seat. I didn't want Joe to see that I'd been crying. Joe Roscoe has worked for Daddy since June, when he finished high school. And from the first day Helen met him, she's been hanging around the gas station. He's only going to be here for 1 year because he's saving his money to go to Forest Ranger School in Oregon. I don't know what Helen sees in him except that he's friendly and he wipes everybody's windshield without them having to ask, which Daddy says makes for good business. When we got home, Ma and Aunt Ray were in the kitchen. Aunt Ray's not my real aunt. We just call her that because she and Ma have been best friends for years. Her kids are all grown and married, and it makes me feel funny to think that Daddy and Ma could have kids that old too. Ma says she and Daddy wanted babies in the worst way, but it took 14 years for God to bless them. Ma was surprised to see Daddy home early. She said, "Frank, what's the matter?" My father told her. Deenie dropped by, so I decided I might as well drive her home and let Joe close up. "I'd better get supper started then. As soon as Helen comes home, we can eat." "Why don't you stay here, Ray?" Aunt Ray said, "Thanks, Thelma. I think I will." Aunt Ray's face reminds me of an owl. Even when I was a little kid, I thought so, but I never told her. Not that there's anything wrong with looking like an owl. It's just that Aunt Ray might not think that that's a compliment. "How come you're so quiet today, Deenie?" Aunt Ray asked. "I don't know." "You look like you've been crying," she said. "Thelma, doesn't she look like she's been crying?" Ma squinted at me. "Deenie, what's wrong with your eyes? They're all bloodshot." "Nothing, Ma." "You're sure?" "Yes, Ma." "You better let me put some drops in them." "I don't want drops, Ma." "Thelma." Daddy put his hand on Ma's shoulder. "She's okay. Just let her be." Aunt Ray said, "Well, we've got some news to cheer you up, Deenie. You have an appointment to see the head of one of the top modeling agencies in New York." "I do?" I asked Ma. "Thanks to Aunt Ray," Ma said. She sent your picture in without telling us. Today they called and they want to see you. They do? A week from Friday at 2 o'clock, Aunt Ray said. But that's when I have French. So you'll take the afternoon off, Ma said. I can't miss French. I'll never be able to make it up. Deenie, Ma said, I don't think you understand. This is a very important interview. I don't care, I said. I'm not going to miss French. Aunt Ray stood up. I just remember I have leftover chicken in the refrigerator. I think I'll go home for supper after all. When she was gone, Ma said, That's a very nice way to act in front of Aunt Ray. I'm sorry. I hope so, Ma told me, because Aunt Ray is very good to you. I said I'm sorry. I heard Janet made cheerleading, Helen said at supper. Yes, I told her. Well, don't feel too bad. I didn't make it either, and I tried out all 3 years I was at Adams. Who says I care one way or the other? I took a sip of milk. Deenie has more important things to think about than cheerleading, Ma said. But she tried out, Helen told Ma. Ma put her pork chop down. That was a waste of time, Deenie. Suppose you had been picked. You would have had to tell them that you couldn't do it. You can't give up all that time. You'll be working soon. She reached for the salt. I didn't try hard, Ma. I just did it to keep Janet company. I glanced at Daddy, but he kept on eating. Cheerleading's a big thing at Adams, Helen told Ma. Practically all the 7th grade girls try out. Don't you remember how much I wanted to make it then? With your brain, you don't need to jump around yelling cheers, Ma said. Daddy finished his applesauce. I can't understand why the girls try out, he said. It makes them feel important to be... I can't understand why they try out, he said. It makes them feel important to be on the cheerleading team. Squad, Helen said. They don't call it a team, they call it a squad. Same difference, Daddy said. As if Deenie needed to be a cheerleader to feel important. Just wait until her picture's on the cover of some magazine. Ma waved her fork at me. I want you in bed by 8 every night this week, Deenie. But Ma, you heard me. I don't want you to take on this interview with circles under your eyes. And you've got to practice walking an hour a day. Remember the last time? What that woman said. Okay. Did you hear about Janet? I asked Midge the next morning. Naturally, she called as soon as she got home. She was really excited. She did just great, I said. I knew the second she finished her cheer she'd make it. Did she tell you how I messed up? No? What happened? Midge asked. Oh, I flubbed my words and I practically fell over backwards doing my jump. It was a riot. I almost cracked up right on the stage. I laughed as hard as I could. Janet didn't tell me that. I guess she didn't notice because she was nervous herself, but it was so funny. Anyway, I couldn't have accepted even if they'd picked me. You know, I have all these interviews coming up. I really just tried out to keep Janet company. Midge didn't answer that because the bus came along then. She saved Janet a seat, as usual. But when we got to her stop, she wasn't waiting, and we made it to school just as the first bell rang, so we had to go straight to our home rooms. I wondered if Janet was sick. She seemed fine yesterday. Or maybe she was so excited she couldn't sleep last night and missed the bus. Susan Minton was waiting by my desk in the homeroom. I looked for you yesterday after tryouts. I had somewhere to go, I said. Oh, I wanted to tell you what an awful mistake the judges made. They should have picked you. I just couldn't understand it. Forget about it, will you, Susan? Sure, Deenie, if you want me to. It's just that everybody thinks you should have made it. I mean, Janet's okay and all, but she isn't anything special. I said, just forget it. Janet's one of my best friends. I know it, Susan said, and you must be really happy for her. That's a fact. I took a book out of my desk and pretended to read. I didn't see Janet until lunchtime. She was waiting for me in the cafeteria. I said, "Hi. I thought you were sick or something." "Oh, no. Alice Applebaum called last night to say her mother drives her to school 3 days a week, and since she lives near me, she offered me a ride, especially since we'll be practicing together and all that." "Oh." "We're getting our sweaters and skirts this afternoon." "Well, that's nice." "Deenie, I wish we could have both made the squad." "Look," I told her, "even if I had made it, I'd have to quit because of my mother's lined up a lot of interviews for me, and I just wouldn't have time for modeling and cheerleading too. You know something? I think I made the squad because I had that chicken's foot in my pocketbook." It really brought me good luck. Janet opened her purse and pulled it out. "You still have it?" "Yes, but now I'm giving it to you. If you carry it on your next interview, it'll bring you good luck." Janet handed it to me. I didn't want to touch it, but I didn't want to insult her either. So I took some napkins, wrapped it up, and stuck it in my pocketbook. End of chapter 4. See you soon. Bye.